Welcome back to Players First YouTube channel, where we put players' needs first and help them make the best decisions to reach their full potential. Hope that you've enjoyed the first couple episodes. The topics that I'm talking about are trying to be as broad as possible, just because I think it'll help allow me to create the right foundation, so then when I go into super precise topics, it'll make the conversation make more sense. So the next question I asked and posed her this week is, like, what does winning mean to you? And I'll repost some of the responses here, which I thought there were some that were pretty insightful. We had one from a local high school coach. To boil his words down into just a few sentences, was just, my goal is to make sure that the players are having the experience that they want to have. And it could be, the playing experience or playing time, or it could be the camaraderie of being on a team. It could be just playing with their sport or going out and competing. And he was made a point to say that the wins and losses on the board, they do matter, but they don't ultimately drive the decisions that he makes, as far as the players that he chooses and the way he runs his organization, runs his team. So I thought that was insightful, because I do think a lot of times just coaches in general just get put into boxes, and you impose your beliefs and structure on them. And a lot of coaches basically are volunteers, and they're doing it because they're really passionate about influencing athletes and using the sport as a way to create better people for the future. And then the reason stereotypes exist is there are coaches that do kind of abuse the system and might not be the best fit for your child. So I thought that was insightful. I had one of my younger clients responded with, winning isn't something that he focuses on at all. And I might be kind of reading between the lines with his exact response, but at least what I took away from his words was, winning is not the objective. It is something that happens and it's awarded to you, but it's not the purpose. I guess, if I were to ask him to kind of dive into it a little bit further, I think that he is somebody who at least embodies loving the process. And the reason I can say that confidently, I don't say that very often about a lot of athletes, is as a 11, 12, 13-year-old, he's been in the gym consistently, 1 to 2, sometimes 2+ times a week for the last almost 2 years now. And that's loving the process, and I think that was his response, that, I love doing the things of going and bettering myself and improving in every aspect of my life. Winning isn't the reason. And so there's a handful of other ones those are the two kind of that struck me the most. And I guess the reason I left this question really broad is I wanted to allow you to give feedback, but then also I guess I probably could have framed it a little bit better. And I think this is a perfect next step in building off the thought process. Are you a competitor, or are you a participator? Because you as an athlete and an individual, you can apply this thought process to really any aspect of your life, is figure out where you want to get, figure out what your goals are, figure out what you want to do, figure out what winning means to you, and then work backwards from there. Work backwards and design your process, your daily process, weekly, monthly, to match your goals. Make sure your work ethic matches your ambitions, and then find ways to get feedback on, am I actually achieving and getting closer to winning? And I think that's kind of the thought process I wanted to bring out, where sometimes I think, like, winning to some athletes, and you see this with really young athletes, is they don't really care how they win. They just want to win. I see it play out where you have the older athlete, who's maybe the bigger, physically or strength wise, or just a little bit better of an athlete, just bigger and older, picks on the younger kid and says, "Oh, I want to play you in one-on-one pickup basketball." And it's like, well, that's not necessarily fair. Really, you're willing to all you care about is just winning, and that's all that matters. And that's I make the analogy sometimes where, if you only care about winning, Like, go play on the lower levels. Go play less serious competition. I'll joke with some other players, like, go play wiffle ball. Like, you'll get more winning if that's all you care about is just that end outcome of winning. Then put yourself in the position to succeed from a winning standpoint. I think the other way I see this play out, and this is from my personal experience, winning for me when I was younger was just playing. Like, I just wanted to play. I wanted to play as much as possible, and it was one of those kind of a catch-22 where I played so much, but I didn't do anything to prepare myself for the amount of play. So then I would get hurt, and then I wouldn't get to play anymore. And I think that's a large portion of youth sports right now. Is all I care about is playing. Playing is winning for me. I don't care if I'm the third stringer. I don't care if I barely get on the field. I just want to play, and that's all that matters. And I think that there is nothing wrong with that. If you just want to play, you want to participate, then again, find the right scenario and environment for you to thrive in, because that's what winning is for you. And I think there are players and athletes who want that, but then they get put on in a very competitive team, serious team, and they don't get to play because maybe there are other players who are more talented, and that leads to frustration for the player. It leads to frustration to the parent, because in all reality, the person who just wants to play, like myself when I was younger, I didn't like practice. I liked practice because I remember, like, what I remember from practice growing up was going to the jungle gym after the game. After practice, I remember getting yelled at all the time for digging holes in the outfield and trying to catch bugs and the typical stuff that your 8 to 12-year-old kid just does. But the reason is because I wasn't motivated by practice. I was motivated by playing, and when I played, I was very focused and intense and would compete. But in practice, it was the opposite, because again, that wasn't something that I wanted, and it wasn't practice was something I had to do, and it wasn't something I wanted to do. So that was kind of the main theme of why I asked this question, was if winning for you is to play at the highest level, make your high school team, be an everyday starter for your travel team or your rec team. If winning for you is playing at the college level or beyond, then you need to drastically change your process and focus on different areas, and make sure that what you're doing in the short term doesn't cost you the ability to achieve those things in the long term. So right now, I will specifically speak to pitchers. So if you are pitching and you get caught up in the winning and losing in the moment in one weekend, and you are the kid who basically is always leaned on and you throw a ton and throw like crazy, right now the going injury rate for a pitcher, just flat out just pitcher, you don't play any other position, which is not the case for most youth players or really up into high school, there's a 50% injury rate. So it's not really, it's literally a coin flip. So that one Little League game, the All-Star tournament, the travel ball game, even the high school game, like, if those don't directly influence and help you get to your ultimate goal, whatever it may be in the long term, and then they put at risk that from happening, then it might not be the best choice to choose that. So that's why this thought process of figuring out what does winning mean for you, I think it can be so valuable, and it can change, it can evolve. Maybe when you're younger, it is, I just want to play, I just want to participate, totally fine. But as you get older and you're like, oh, I really like this, I enjoy it, I want to compete, I want to go out and I want to play at a very high level, then you have to change your thought process, and you have to make sure that what you are doing is helping you get to your ultimate goals. I guess as I'm saying this out loud, I think winning is something too that maybe that winning component, you might not think it's possible. I think a lot of players think, well, especially with baseball and softball, and sports in general that have a lot of failure involved in them, it's like, well, I don't really win very often, so it's not really, like, I have no control over winning and losing, so I might as well not put the extra work in. So I think that's another thought process that you're going to want to break down and attack, and make sure it doesn't become your thought process for life, because it's very easy for that to happen. So I think there's that component. I think as far as just kind of some more everyday examples is, as it evolves and it grows and it becomes more serious, like, time becomes your enemy, where you need to make sure as you get older and the bigger your goals are, you need to make sure that everything that you're trying to do is everything you possibly can to make sure you reach your full potential. And I think there's a lot of different factors that go into that. But I think another component as far as the younger side is when you're talking about like what does winning mean to me, what does winning mean to you is another way of saying like what are my goals, is like maybe you say something along the lines of like I want to play professional baseball one day. And I think the average experience for somebody who says a really big goal like that is people laugh at them, tell them it's not possible, there's no way, and they give you like the first thing that comes to everyone's mind is going to be something negative. It's just the way that we're wired and the way we think, and especially right now with how people think, where they're just going to point out the one thing that you can't do that is going to be the limiting factor for you getting to that next level. And so that's why I think winning is so important, and defining what winning means is so important. And then I guess working backwards from there versus kind of just aimlessly moving through your playing experience, no matter what your sport is. I think that it's something that needs to be defined, and it probably needs to be a conversation between you, your parents, your peers, where it's clear as far as what that means to you. And then that helps you if you mirror and you match that conversation with, am I a participator or am I a competitor? That I think you can start seeing some parallels between, participators. Their definition of winning is going to be different than competitors and their definition of winning. And the more things that are defined at the start, the easier it is to formulate a plan. Once you have a plan in place, you start acting on it. And I think that's a lot of the times is the next hardest step. But again, define what winning means to you. If it's the championship game when you're 13 years old, if it's the Little League World Series, if it's the chess tournament over the weekend, whatever that is, whatever you're motivated to do and you want to go out and do it regularly, make sure you're putting yourself in the environment that gives you the best shot of winning. And then surround yourself with others who can hold you accountable to those things, and can help and mentor you, and then be free to change what your definition of winning is as you grow older and you get more experiences within whatever sport you play. But I think that winning component, it should evolve, and if it gets too serious too soon, then you have kids that get burnt out and don't want to, participate in whatever they're being forced to do. If it's not their definition, if it's somebody else's definition, maybe it's a coach, a sibling. I think that's probably something that's not talked about a lot, where there's social pressure from your siblings as far as what's considered like what they should be doing and shouldn't be doing. If it's a parent imposing what they want their child to be doing, which there's times and places for that. I don't have children, so I can't speak to dealing with that portion of the relationship. But I think having the conversation, figuring out what winning means to you, and then finding the right environment and the right people to surround yourself with so that you have the best chance to win as often as possible. That's going to be your best next step. So feedback, comments, I want to get a little more interactive with this channel, and open it up to hear what you guys have to say. And again, I love conversation. I want to grow from this experience, and I want others to learn, and I want to start building healthy conversations within the athlete's sphere. And I think this is a great step in that direction.